What's going on with Versace? What is the future of Versace going to be, especially because the latest news is, of course, that Dario Vitale has exited Versace. Now, when this news came out, there was a lot of speculation around why did he leave Versace? Like, did he leave? Because there was some, like, I thought initially, because I knew for a long time that Prada Group was trying to acquire Versace, and because Dario Vitale was at Miu Miu, I actually thought that they actually put him at Versace as kind of like a boss move because they knew they were going to buy it and they would have like one of their trusty design directors already at Versace. Turns out that was not actually the case. Turns out that he actually left Prada Group to go to Versace. And the thing about these deals is that even though this deal has been in the works, I literally have a video on my channel 9 months ago talking about Prada Group acquiring Versace. But I can imagine that his job at Versace, maybe they were in talks way before Prada Group became public, talking about the fact they wanted to acquire Versace. So he was kind of unlucky in that way. So he left Prada Group, went to Versace. Prada Group bought Versace and were like, yeah, no, you betrayed us. Get out of here. That's literally what happened. Like, no joke. Like, they even say it in this BOF article. Let me read from here. Unfortunately for Vitale, the old axiom, you never know what is going to come back to bite you, held especially true for him. After informing Prada Group earlier this year that he was leaving Miu Miu to take the creative director role at Versace, he was told in no uncertain terms that they did not believe he was ready for such a role, and if Prada ended up acquiring Versace, he would not stay in the job, according to multiple sources close to the company. Vitale took the plunge in any case, so he knew this was coming. Maybe it will still pay off for him in the end. His buzzy debut, a compelling audition for the new role, no doubt. So literally, they told him, they warned him when he was leaving that if you leave, we do not think that you're ready for the job at Versace. And if we acquire Versace, we are going to fire you. Like they told him. So he kind of took a risk and I guess was probably hoping that it would fall through the same way the tapestry deal fell through for Versace. But clearly that did not happen. And you know, Dario Vitale is out. Someone said, it seems like there's a ton of upheaval right now and instability as luxury is doing as bad as it is. Yeah, like a lot of stuff. Dr. Jean says, no way. Yeah, it's insane. It's actually insane that is actually what happened. It's so insane. Like pure scandal. But anyway, it's also interesting to examine kind of where, you know, Versace is right now. I mean, they've been doing really terribly financially, which is why they've been looking for a buyer. The tapestry deal fell through, which was rejected by the US Trade Commission. We've covered that in the past. Of course, Prada Group swooped in and acquired Versace for 1.25 billion euros. But they've been struggling. They've had quarterly losses since Q3 in 2024, and their annual revenue is down by 15%. There was a quote via the Versace CEO called Emmanuel Gintzburger. This is the quote right here that I've highlighted that I think is really interesting to read because it shows their goals. And the fact that he's still the CEO, even though he's been there since Capri Holdings, and now that Prada Group owns Versace, they haven't fired him and replaced him with a different CEO. So it means that they're going with his strategy, because the CEO is the person that, you know, runs the strategy. So his strategy is that, and he said this at a Capri Holdings Investor Day in February of this year, that the label's 4 key focus areas are drilling down on house codes, growing accessories to $600 million, growing footwear to $250 million, building out the men's market share. So when we talk about fashion designers that are good fits, because everyone keeps talking about, you know, who's going to take over at Versace, who would be a good fit? You need to remember they need to be good at these things highlighted. So they need to be able to drill down on the Versace house codes. They need to be able to grow the accessories to 600 million, which means they have to have a good track record. I said track record, can't speak. They have to have a good track record of actually creating desirable accessories that sell. They have to be able to grow the footwear to $250 million, meaning they have to have a track record of making really desirable footwear. And then they also, you know, need to be able to do other things like be good at categories like fine jewelry, watches, homeware, and they need to be good at menswear design because they're building out their menswear. So now let's talk about a lot of designers that we've been talking about when it comes to Versace. I've seen Pietramulia from Alaya. People are talking about that. I've not seen menswear really, like desirable menswear, like menswear selling from Pietramulia. So that kind of pushes him out. Pietramulia does do good footwear though. And Pietramulia can design really desirable accessories, but mainly footwear. Then you have the likes of like Anthony Vaccarello, I've heard people mentioning, I think is a better fit than Pietramulia, to be honest, in terms of like those categories of like menswear, footwear, accessories, jewelry, homeware. I think a great fit would be Hedi Slimane. Would Hedi Slimane go there and make Versace kind of look like Hedi Slimane 2.0 or 3.0 or 4.0? 4.0 in this case, because, you know, YSL, Dior, Celine, then Versace. But they could use him though. Obviously, Hedi Slimane, you know, he would not work at an Italian brand. He only works at French brands. So they'll have to throw an empty checkbook at him and be like, name your price. But he is the person that builds brands. Like if you're ever in doubt, if your brand is ever struggling, I mean, look at Celine. He brought Celine from a brand that was making like 800 million a year to 2.1 billion a year. That's insane. Like Hedi Slimane really is the guy when it comes to like making brands money. So can he build furniture? Yes. He built out the furniture and beauty line at Celine. Can he make accessories and menswear desirable? Of course. Can he make footwear that's desirable and sells? Of course. So that's a big option. Another option I've seen people say is the likes of Donatella Versace. People are saying that Donatella Versace might make a return. I don't see that. Why would she leave just to come back so quickly? I just think that would be a bit weird. I don't know. It would be a bit strange. Someone is also saying I picture Olivier Rousteing in Versace. I can actually see that because I think his sensibilities are kind of in line with Versace, like the whole like maximalist thing. Yeah, I can see that. I can definitely see that. Eddie should have gone to Balmain because it's French. Yeah, I can definitely see that. Anthony needs to stay at YSL because he's made it what it is today. Without him, it's not going to thrive on its own, even if they find a new name. Yeah. I'm trying to figure out what I want from Versace in 2025 as a consumer. Yeah, let me pose this question to you guys in the chat. As like the brand Versace, like what do you guys actually like want from the brand? Like when you think of Versace from a customer's perspective, like what would you be like, oh, if Versace made this would be like great. I think this would sell. Olivier needs to loosen them braids and take a break because she tired. Dead. Not the tired braids. That's crazy. Cologne that is actually probably what's making Versace most of the money, to be fair. Like the perfumes, the fragrances. Silk, yeah. Versace has zero Gen Z presence, facts. I think maybe that's what they need to do, like strategy-wise, you know, get younger people into the clothes, work with younger creators, style things in like a way that young people want to wear it, all that kind of stuff. And that's the thing. I thought that like, love it or hate it, because I know a lot of people watching this probably hated the collection, but I think that the Dario Vitale Versace debut, yes, a lot of people didn't like it, but it was actually quite fun. And there were lots of ideas where it's like, okay, I could see younger people having fun if they want to dress in a really retro way and kind of look super retro, then I can see like this, you know, taking off. Fuck it, put Migos on the runway. They need to bring back the old makeup line. Versace needs to get back to making couture level gowns, dominating the red carpet and leaning into denim and tailoring. Fair enough. I mean, when I think of Versace historically, like when I think of Versace codes, I think of like Gianni Versace. Gianni Versace to me is like a really exceptional dressmaker. When I think of Versace, there's like two sides of Versace. There's like the silk shirt wearing, like, I don't know, like Miami bro that has a lot of money but just wants to buy something expensive Versace customer. Then there's the other customer, which is what I love about Versace historically. If we're talking like early Donatella Versace, old Gianni Versace, the dressmaking was exquisite. One thing I think people overlook with Versace is how good of a dressmaker he was. Like, if you guys can get your hands on the Versace Catwalk book, I know quite a lot about Versace, the history of Versace, because I worked on the press run for the book when it came out. For people that don't know, it was written by Tim Blanks. I worked with Thames and Hudson, who is the publisher of the book, on the press run, and I had to interview him about the book, so I had to like know about everything that was in the book and all that sort of stuff. So if you look at the archives of Versace, the dressmaking is exquisite. And it's kind of weird that nowadays, when people think of Versace, all they think about is silk shirts. I think that's an indictment on the brand itself, that they haven't been able to keep that as a house code, like the really, really good dressmaking. So yeah, I would love to see that come back. Hate to say this, but Versace is so tied with the 80s extravagance that today the designs look tired and so unreliable or unrelatable, I guess, with today's generation. Yeah, I can understand that, but then all you need to do is just like modernize it. So there's a way to like take those old Versace tropes and ideas, but just modernize it. I think the problem with it is no one has really been able to, like Donatella Versace, love her, but she's not, I don't think she pushed Versace forward. She just kind of kept Versace where it was for a really long time. So what they need now is a designer that can come in, take all those codes and really modernize it. They haven't had someone that, I feel like Donatella Versace is still kind of in the 90s and 2000s. And so they need someone to really like bring it into the modern time. They just haven't had someone to do it yet. I thought Dario Vitale would be the person to do it. Was his debut collection a bit too retro? Yes. Did I kind of like it though? Yes. I know a lot of people didn't like it. I kind of liked it, but you just need someone to come in and modernize it. That's all Versace needs, to be honest. I think the Donatella 2000s era is a perfect reference to help mixed with 80s nostalgia. Fair enough. Dario's Versace collection had 25k dresses, really tried to up the prices, which doesn't line up with targeting younger. You can target younger without, and also charge 25k for a dress. For example, young people love Chanel, and Chanel sells skirts for 50k. So what they do is just buy the bags. So with Versace, you create desire by making everything unattainable, and then it makes people desire the bags even more, and like the little accessories even more, the belts going sideways and the shoes and stuff. That's how you sell the ready-to-wear pieces for high margins. Philip Plein for Versace, kill me now. He really could have tapped into the whole Miami Vice era that hasn't been done well yet. It's very close to the oversized minimalism that people currently love. Yeah. To be fair though, I think there's already a brand that taps into that whole Miami Vice era you're talking about. I think the brand that does that is Casablanca. I feel like Casablanca sits really well in that space because Casablanca looks retro but modern at the same time. I don't know how to describe it. Casablanca does look like, I feel like people that wear Casablanca, they kind of look like they went to a Formula One Grand Prix in Monaco in the 90s, but it still kind of looks modern. I don't know how, but that's kind of the energy that Versace could lean into, but in a Versace way, of course, and like with better and more interesting dressmaking, because that's also, to me, a house code of Versace, like the dressmaking. And then obviously using house code of Versace, like the fabric, silk is really important to the house. Silk is a very, very important fabric to the house of Versace. So these are all ideas that I think, could be done. Casablanca Too Flashy feels like a front business. It's always on sale. A front business is insane. A front for what? Being Mr. Witty. What is it a front for? Is he trying to say that over in Casablanca, they're running a drug syndicate and they're washing their money through Casablanca? That's crazy. So yeah, in the chat, who do you guys think would be the best fit for Versace? I've seen Luke saying that I should come back to him when Pietramilia gets announced as the creative director of Versace. We shall see. We shall see. I think, so my thing with Pietramilia, love his work. Huge fan of his work. I don't think I've had anything bad to really say about his work. I've been a fan of a lot of his stuff. I've reviewed a lot of his live shows. They're amazing. I just think that when you look at Pierre's experience, Pietramilia was at Deal Sander with Raf Simons, I believe. He was, I believe, at Calvin Klein with Raf Simons too, no? He was at Calvin Klein with Raf Simons. I even think he was at Dior with Raf Simons. And then, obviously, he's been at Alaya. He's just his experience is very classical. The way he knows how to design is very classical. And it works at Alaya. And that's why I like his Alaya. It works at certain brands. But I think Versace is not the classic brand. Versace is like old school glamour. Versace is like Formula One Grand Prix with the cigar in the hand. Versace is like crazy red carpet moments. The like really glamorous dress, like the woman that's like really chic but also kind of wants to look like an old movie star. Like that's, I haven't seen a hop into that bag ever. So it makes me think, does he have that in his bag? I don't know. So that's why for me, Peter Mulier is just like him as a designer, but at Versace, I'm just not too sure based on what I've seen from him in the past and the places he's worked at in the past. Okay, someone is saying Riccardo Tisci. Yeah, I can see that. I can definitely see that. Jonathan, now we're just throwing everything to the wind and seeing what sticks. JW Anderson is not going from one of the biggest brands in fashion to Versace, a struggling brand. What, he's not doing enough? Oh, so you mean Versace on top of whatever he's doing? Like, JW Anderson looks stressed out. Like, every time I see him, he looks stressed out. I actually feel for him. I actually feel sorry for him. It's like, oh my God, he looks so stressed. Haider could be interesting, but he doesn't give us bags. Yeah, that's the big issue. And like, all the other categories they want to go into, like jewelry and furniture, he doesn't have a track record of really selling stuff like that. Peter was at Dior, Ras Simmons doing menswear and Calvin Klein. He never did Jill Sander. Also, wait, but I thought Peter Mulier was at Jill Sander. Check. I feel like he followed Ras Simmons to Jill Sander. I feel like he followed Ras Simmons to Jill Sander because he was Ras Simmons' right hand. Check it. He followed Ras Simmons to Jill Sander, then he followed Ras Simmons to Dior, and then he followed Ras Simmons to Calvin Klein, and then he went to Alaya. Check it. Fact check me, guys. I feel like he was at Jill Sander with Ras Simmons, but fact check me. If I'm wrong, then let me know. There's really only one option, and he's not going there. Dolce Jeans. Who is the one option? Who is the one Versace option? I'm curious to see what he says. Yeah. See, I know what I'm saying. Peter Mulier definitely worked at Jill Sander, following Ras Simmons, serving as the director of accessories for both men's and women's collections from around 2006 until Simmons' departure to Dior in 2012. Yeah, because he followed Ras Simmons to Dior. Yeah. Come on, guys. I know what I'm talking about. Yeah, even in Vogue, they said it too. Yeah, they said he worked at Jill Sander with Ras Simmons. Yeah, Mulier's Ras Simmons' right hand. Guys, I know what I'm talking about. Come on, guys. Come on, guys. I mean, I know something about fashion. Come on, I know a few things about fashion. Right, let's go back to Versace. Yeah. So he was Ras Simmons number 2, but that's not the point I'm making. The point I was making is that he worked at Jill Sander with Ras Simmons, he worked at Dior with Ras Simmons, he worked at Calvin Klein with Ras Simmons. So the point I'm making is that what he has shown, like what he's designed or what he's been around, the designs he's been a part of, don't give off Versace. So him at Versace, I just don't know if he has that in his bag. That's what I was saying. When I said he was Ras Simmons' right hand, I didn't mean at all times, but from like Dior times, definitely at Calvin Klein, he was definitely Ras Simmons' right hand. So that's what I mean. At some point, he became Ras Simmons' right hand. Not necessarily at Jill Sander, but my point is that's how he became Ras Simmons' right hand, because he was with him for so long. He basically followed him everywhere. So like, followed him to Jill Sander, followed him to Dior, followed him to Calvin Klein, and then went off on his own. Let me see. Did Dolce Jeans say who is the person? Okay, Hedi Slimane. Hedi Slimane's the only right choice for Versace. It's sad. Remember they brought in Christopher Kane and he did some great work for Versace, then his own brand suffered up. Oh my God, it's so sad what happened to Christopher Kane. It's really, really sad what happened to Christopher Kane and how the brand just kind of, just started struggling financially. It's like a big shame, to be honest. It's a big shame. How on earth is Hedi Slimane the right choice for Versace? You guys are saying. I literally highlighted all the reasons why he's the right choice. You're going to have to watch it back, Luke. You're going to have to watch it back. But yeah, anyway, those are my kind of thoughts on the whole Versace thing and kind of just clearing the air on why exactly it was that Dario Vitale left Versace, so that guys can stop speculating and making up stories. The information is there, readily available. Maybe Versace needs a shock treatment. And just, yeah, this is what we were saying. Never said he's the right one, but by the goals they've set, he's the only person that can achieve them. Facts. I feel like every other designer just won't really get there, especially those big numbers that they set out. I just don't see any other designer that gets there. The only problem with Hedi Slimane is going to want royalties on his photography. He's going to want royalties on the beauty line. He's going to find a way to like create some next, even though like Versace already has a beauty line that's licensed out and everything. He's going to find a way to make a sub line that's only Hedi Slimane, and he's going to get royalty. Like, it's just going to be a mess. He's going to get paid the most ever out of all creative directors, even though Versace doesn't make as much revenue as like or Chanel. He's still going to want to get paid more than all those creative directors. Oh my God. Luke says it will be Pieter and he'll flop hard. Oh my gosh. Why so pessimistic? Pieter Emilio was basically the one who ran things and conveyed Raf's aesthetic to the different brands that Calvin Klein Raf was rarely in the office. Damn! Expose. Basically, so when you were at Calvin Klein, Pieter Emilio was basically doing all the work and Raf Simons was MIA. That's crazy. That's crazy. Shout out to Pieter Emilio, working hard. Shout out to him. I'm a big fan of his work. I love his Alaya. I talk about his Alaya all the time anyway. Really enjoy what he does. But that's a crazy story, by the way, that Raf was really in the office. What was Raf doing? Was Raf like going on work trips, getting inspiration, like the John Galliano type of work trips, like traveling the world? Like, I just want to be inspired. Like, what was he doing? I'm so curious. With Eddie at Versace, the stores will look like Celine and Saint Laurent. They'll make Chanel, Hermes, and Dior look-alike bags with the V, black and white campaigns, skinny white boys and girls. Versace and Helvetica, we know the process, of course. But it's just down to like, do they want to make money or do they not? Because the thing about Hedi Slimane too, Hedi Slimane can create like a good springboard for the next creative director because he would have built out the business side of the brand. Look at Celine, for example. I think Michael Ryder has taken over seamlessly. I think he's been great at Celine so far. And because the business is set up, the beauty is making money, the furniture is making money now. They have the custom design program where they make, those like custom bags for VIPs where they sell like bags for like $1 million and all that crazy stuff. Like all that stuff came when Hedi Slimane was there. So I think Versace could benefit from a blockbuster designer that will like sort out the business from top to bottom, and then they can get rid of that designer or just like maybe make them sign a 2 to 3 year contract. And then when that contract is over, then they can get a newer designer that they can control. So yeah, it just depends. So what is someone's? Raf was not the general creative director. Okay, you're talking about Calvin Klein. Yeah, Mathieu were the design directors. Yeah, but Raf was still above them. Like I feel like Raf was like, there's like chief creative officer, like one of those roles, like CCO. I feel like that was one of his roles. So it's still, the buck still stops with him. So just because he's not design director doesn't mean that like he can just like not do anything. Like he's still like chief creative officer. It's still his job to like whatever's on the runway is still him. And in fact, you can't say that those ideas weren't coming from Raf. Like the ideas were coming from Raf, maybe not the execution, because I mean, all of Raf Simons' favorite graphic designers and artists, he spammed them at Calvin Klein. He literally spammed them his whole time at Calvin Klein. So I love how this became like a Raf Simons Calvin Klein conversation. But anyway, I think it's because we were talking about Pieter Emilio. But anyway. This YouTube channel runs on your support. If you want to support the channel, you can subscribe to my Patreon. You'll gain access to exclusive content that includes everything from my Patreon podcast, where I give a behind-the-scenes insight into the fashion industry, as well as a fashion book club, where I review my favorite fashion books. You can also check out my fashion ebook, which highlights the best fashion journalists to follow, definitions of common fashion terminology, and how to determine what a good source of fashion information is. The links to everything are in the description below.